Hey guys, I'm Rich. Welcome to Rich with Cars. On this week's episode, we're going to be going over the 2024 Audi Q8 E-tron. This Q8 E-tron right behind me is actually a redesigned version of Audi's first EV SUV that they came out with, which is the E-tron. And they did a few changes in terms of design, exterior design, and a little bit on the interior. And then of course they rebadged it to be the Q8 E-tron. As always, I'm going to be going over the exterior, interior, cargo, engine, or if you want to call it powertrain. In this case, it's an EV. And then of course, driving impressions. So guys, as always, let's strap in and take a look. Here at the exterior of the Audi Q8 E-tron 2024 model. So what this basically is a rebranded, rebadged Audi E-tron. If you guys remember when Audi first came out with their fully electric vehicle SUV, they came out with the E-tron. Now it's been rebadged as a Q8 E-tron, and they made some changes like on the front area, the grille. You have this over here as well, the Audi rings in the front, which looks a little bit different. Slight changes on the headlights as well. You have some air curtains, functional air curtains on the front bumper as well. Generally though, not massive changes. It does not look like the internal combustion engine version of the Q8. It's just basically redesigned, rebadged E-tron. You have some 21-inch wheels. I'm not a big fan of these wheels, to be honest with you. I think that they could have done a better job in terms of the design, but the reason why they look this way is primarily for aerodynamics. We do have the battery compartment, the charge port, which is right here. Pretty cool. It is electronic. So nice little party trick, and then you can just close it. If we take a look at the side profile of the E-tron, as you guys can see, this is not the Sportback version. The Sportback version will have sort of more of a slanted rear area. It does have a crossover look. If I'm not wrong, this particular trim level over here is a Prestige with the Black Optics package. So what the Black Optics package does, it just blacks out some of the accenting, like at the bottom over there and around the window trim as well. This is a really cool feature over here. You get to see sort of like etched into the piano black, you get to see Audi Q8 E-tron Quattro. So that's a nice little cool touch, which I like. It seems like they redesigned the rear taillights. I believe the previous E-tron did have that as well, but it's slightly redesigned in the rear for the taillights. And then also they redesigned a little bit of the bottom rear bumper area. We do see a bit of a rear roof spoiler over here. So nothing too crazy from a design perspective. I think I would probably choose some of its competitors. Most likely I'd probably go with something like the Genesis GV60. Black Optics package also adds black badging over there in the rear. One thing that I do like is that if you're not aware, if you don't know that this is an EV, then this does not look like an EV. It looks like a regular Audi crossover from the exterior. For those of you that are trying to get into the EV market or EV sort of ownership, at least this won't actually make you feel like you're driving an EV from the exterior, and you guys will get to see soon enough that the interior also, Audi decided to keep the layout relatively familiar to their regular internal combustion engines. So now getting into the new 2024 Audi Q8 E-tron. That's the key. I like the fact that it's not too large. You guys can see it's pretty small. So I like that because it fits into your pocket with no sort of like massive bulge. And I like the design generally. It's some piano black look with a bit of like silver on the side. And then you have your basic functionalities, your lock, your trunk opening, and your unlock as well. And then you have your panic button here in the rear. So let's give it an unlock. Getting in, you have electronic doors. So it looks like it's like a regular sort of mechanical, I guess if you want to call it, door release function, but it's actually electronic. You do have soft closed doors on this. Your door lock and unlock, your window controls, side view mirror controls, a little bit odd placement for your memory seat functions right there at the bottom. You have your trunk release button over here, and then finally some storage here on the side of the door. You could fit easily probably a 750 ml bottle over here with some additional spacer in the rear as well. We do have a Bang & Olufsen sound system. Quite a bit of seat functions. including, I believe that's a massaging function. These are 14-way power seats. Generally speaking, very comfortable seats. Not heavy bolstering, I would say, but pretty comfortable in terms of seat design. Not a big fan. Some lines, that's part of the stitching, and there's nothing really special on the seats themselves. Your steering wheel control that basically allows you for the tilt and telescopic functions, and little extra cubby for added convenience over here. Also lined in sort of like a nice velvet felt material. So added convenience here on the side as well. So we see basically very typical Audi design. As we all know, Audi has some of the best ergonomics in the vehicle industry. I'm not a big fan, let's say, of the steering wheel over here, the 4-spoke design over here. A couple of infotainment screens over here. One's for the main infotainment over there, and the other one is for the HVAC system. But you do have the possibility of controlling some other things over here. So when you press this, it brings you to some other functions as well. You're not gonna see a huge sort of difference or a very steep learning curve in terms of layout. Of course, if you want to call it the gear lever, push forward for reverse, push back for drive, just one click over there for neutral, and then if you want to put into park, there's a small button over there on the side, and then that brings you into park. The Audi typical gauge cluster, which has a bunch of different functionalities. You can change the views. There's multiple different things that you can change the view on, for example. You have also the benefit of having the full map on your gauge cluster, which is typical Audi. I do like the fact that you have all these different functionalities, a lot of comfort features as well. If you pull up the camera, you have a full 360-degree view camera, very high resolution as well. You can change it to 3D as well. And also, as you guys can see, very, very smooth in terms of its functionality. It allows you to look at the vehicle from all around. It does have some luxurious appointments. For example, this open pore wood over here, and then you have some leather on the top dash, some soft touch plastics or injected mold plastics, but it's not like a cheap look. I think I would have preferred maybe on the doors a little bit better choice of materials, because you do have this soft injected mold plastic on the top part of the door. You have some functionalities here, including your start stop, your camera function. That's advanced parking controls, and that's your full suite of safety controls. You have your drive select. One huge fault, in my opinion at least, from a layout perspective, yes, from a convenience perspective, you do have a lot of storage over here, very open. It even opens up over here for some cup holders, which you can close it up to create more space, or you can bring them up manually to create some cup holders. You guys can see over here there's like a clip. That's for your wireless charger. I do like the fact that the wireless charger doesn't take that much space, so you just basically put your phone sideways over here and it'll charge wirelessly. A little bit more storage here, but the big fault in my opinion is the fact that all this over here is just open. It feels or it looks like as if it's unfinished here in the middle. I just don't like this whole open space concept. To me, it looks like it's an unfinished sort of middle compartment, in my opinion. They could have just closed it up with something over there to make it look all flush. You have a panoramic sunroof, which we can take a look at over here. You can also open it up. It's not only a panoramic in the sense that it's just an open glass piece, but it also is a sunroof as well. And then looking at the inside over here, like most EVs, you get to see that there's almost a flat floor because there is no transmission tunnel. And then you have some additional controls here for the rear that basically allow you to control the HVAC system for the rear area. I'm inside right now. You guys get to see that there is quite a bit of space. I'm 6'1". My head doesn't touch the ceiling. I have about 1.5 inches or almost 2 inches of space between my knee and the front seat. So not too bad from a space perspective. We do have a middle armrest over here with some additional storage, and of course, your cup holders. So I do like the design of the cup holders because they don't actually take up any space over there. So getting into the cargo area of the Q8 E-tron, we get to see over here that there's a rubber mat over here. I think that is an optional accessory. Some pretty cool features that I like are the fact that you have some accent lighting over here, so it gives it sort of like a futuristic, sort of modern look. I like that. You do have a cargo cover over here. You have a little area here for additional luggage with a cargo net on both sides, actually. And then you have manual releases for the seat backs of the second row. One over here and the other one over there. So if I were to, let's say, just release one, it's manual, so it basically releases by itself, and then you have to put it back on manually. I'll show you guys on the screen what the cargo volume is for the rear. The loading area is actually quite high. It literally goes up to my waist, and I'm not, let's say, a particularly short guy. Like I mentioned before, I'm 6'1", and this goes up to my waist. So anybody that's looking to put some heavy items into the trunk, they might have some issues lifting it up and putting it over there. Let's take a look at the front as well. So I wouldn't say that this is class leading in terms of storage space. Of course, there's going to be other EVs that probably utilize their storage space a little bit better. But here in the front, probably because the majority of people don't end up using the front too often, but you have this little sort of storage over here. You guys can see if I put my hand over there, it shows you exactly how tall or deep this little storage cubby over here is. I think it's probably big enough to put your charging cables here in the front. So in the engine, or typical engine compartment of the Audi Q8 E-tron, we don't have the EV motors in here, but this is where typically, of course, an internal combustion engine is going to have it. But the motors are actually in the front and in the rear, in between the front wheels and in between the rear wheels. So basically we have dual motor. We have basically a combined output on regular times, or all the time, of 355 horsepower and 414 pounds per foot of torque. When you put the transmission into sport mode, you have 490 pounds per foot of torque. Now, I'm gonna put the numbers on the screen. I might be wrong on that, but just to confirm, I'll put it on the screen for you guys. We do have a 106 kilowatt hour battery, giving you guys a range of about 285 miles. Now, this is definitely not class leading, especially when it comes to the performance of the vehicle. So I'd probably put this towards the bottom of the pack when it comes to EV crossovers or EV SUVs, when it comes to the powertrain itself and the range. Unfortunately, I believe that Audi hasn't really come up with anything that is class leading as of yet. But of course, if you're an Audi fan and you want to still stick with the Audi brand for an EV, you could go with this. But you know, rest assured that you won't be towards the top of any of the range numbers or performance numbers. From a performance perspective, this does 0 to 60 in the low fives. It's like 5.2 or 5.4. I'll put the numbers up on the screen for you guys just to take a look at it. But as I said before, for an EV, it's quite underwhelming. Okay guys, so I'm here driving the 2024 Audi Q8 E-tron. What are my driving impressions on this? So I've been driving it now for a good, like, solid 5-10 minutes. Initial impressions right off the bat. You know, it feels like a typical EV. The only thing that I can say though, I've tried pushing the car a little bit harder right off the bat, and it doesn't have your typical EV power. It does have the responsiveness, but in terms of the power, I wouldn't say it's that great. Like, I'm pushing it right now. Yeah, it pushes, but I mean, I've been in other EVs where it feels way more powerful right off the line. In terms of steering feel, very numb. It's very soft too, and it's not very communicative. This is not a performance vehicle, to say the least. It's more of a commuter. But I mean, it's a luxury commuter that's you know, a full EV. In terms of suspension, this does sit on air suspension, so you do have the benefit of raising and lowering the vehicle. In fact, when you change the different drive modes, you do have different ride heights. So let's go in dynamic. That's gonna lower the ride height of the vehicle. And let's put the transmission into sport. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I do feel the extra power, I guess you could say. because as I mentioned to you guys before, the horsepower and the torque ends up getting increased when you put the transmission into sport. You guys see the dash over here? That's the little thing I'm talking about over there. And when I put the transmission into sport, you just saw that little part over there go up. So that's off, that's in sport. The massage function in these seats are much more apparent, but these seem a little bit more firm, so you get a little bit more massage. Some people might not like that. I personally do. I think they probably programmed it in such a way where it's progressive, because I basically almost floored. I was maybe 4/5 of the go pedal into it, and it didn't feel like it just, you know, really pushed me to my seat. It was more like it was gradual. So I think they probably programmed it in that way to be more of a luxurious type of feel rather than, you know, full power and potent. So I can tell you guys that the powertrain on this is not that great. Those other Teslas like the Model Y and the Model 3 actually did better than this in terms of acceleration and power delivery. So steering, I can tell you 100% that is very, very apparent or different between the different drive modes, because right now I'm driving in comfort. I just switched it to comfort, and the steering is very very soft compared to dynamic. So you have the cup holders here all the way at the bottom. I find that they're a little bit too far down, in my opinion. I prefer my cup holder being a little bit further up. The brakes are not bad. You have 6-piston calipers in the front, single piston in the rear. But let's not forget that you also have the regeneration that actually helps you out with the braking. So ultimately, I'd say that the brakes are not so bad, given the fact that you do have regen in the brakes. The brake feel is actually pretty good. I've felt other EVs where the regen kind of took away from the feel of the brakes. This is a great vehicle to get into if you're trying to basically put yourself into an EV vehicle. And if you're looking also for luxury and sort of a great interior layout, I think Audi does a great job as well. There is not a very steep learning curve in terms of the usability of the vehicle itself, because the layout and sort of the controls are very similar to the internal combustion engine version of the brand's vehicles. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this review of the 2024 Audi Q8 E-tron. Overall, I can't say that this is on the top of my list when it comes to EVs. I'd probably put it or give it a score of 3 on 5, to be honest. There's other EVs out there that probably give it a better performance, better range. But given its price point, this particular trim, which is the Prestige, this will run you about $84,000 plus tax and fees. So I think for that price point, you could probably find yourself some better options out there in the EV range. Aside from that, I think that overall from a comfort, convenience, it was a relatively good EV, but I think that there's definitely better options out there. I want to give a huge thanks to Aston Martin of Orlando for allowing me to review this Audi Q8 E-tron. You guys can check out their website and take a look at their pre-owned inventory. This particular Q8 E-tron is actually right now up for sale, and it's significantly discounted over the MSRP price. Take a look at it. I'll put a link in the description below. I'll show you guys here on the screen what it looks like. But as always, thank you very much for all the views, all the likes. Make sure to share this video for people looking for an Audi Q8 E-tron, and I'll see you guys on the next one.